Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and I guess this is a bonus video. Maybe the last one was a bonus video. It's hard to say what's a bonus and what's not, but this painting I'm presenting to you now is called Golden Meadow. It's a 7x10. I did it, oh my goodness, probably really early in September, so I think today's probably October 1st out here. So September's behind us, and we're looking at, getting close to the end of 2017, another year in the can. 2017 having been a pretty good year for me, but heck, we'll look back in a couple months when it's December, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but I've been wanting to present this painting to you since I did it. It was an experiment, and as I've talked about on several recent videos in the last couple weeks about the texture, this was the first one I ever did with a heavy texture, and I arrived at that texture by using a palette knife and some black gesso on, actually this is done on the back of a board I'd already prepared, so the other side is the same color as a burnt umber with a very much more subtle texture. So now the video is going to be still pretty high def. I mean 720 by, I don't know what it is, ever 1080 or something like that, It could be even higher, but that takes a long time to upload, and I guess it's down the road. Next time I get a bump in my the speed of my internet, we'll see. But you should be able to see this if you're running the video at the 720 mode. You'll be able to see the detail a lot better. And the funny thing is that there's not much actual detail in this painting. Most of the apparent details being created with the texture, and I really enjoyed doing this painting. It was also really the start of something I've been doing, I guess, for the whole month of September, which is just kind of coming up with a quick image and and doing a painting from it right away. In the past I would have a bit more planning, and I'd set up 6 images, and then I'd go paint the 5x7s, and then I'd paint the large version, and I've worked that way for, gosh, since 2013. So this, I've been a bit more freeform lately in that like I just whipped up this image, at least the reference image, the night before, and after I've prepped the board, and then I was in there painting very shortly afterwards, and it's just a one-off. Now, one of the things that's interesting about this as well is this is a 7x10, and 7x10 is a size I really like, and I intend to do more 7x10 paintings, and I've been calling them studies, but it becomes, as you move, well, I don't know, what's a study, what's a painting? They're all paintings. How about that? We call things studies, I guess, when we have a larger painting, or in the case of, say, the 25 days of tonalism, it's a study, actual study done after another artist's painting. I seriously do think something's a study if I'm making a 5x7 and I have the intention of painting a larger version shortly after. However, I put everything I have into that 5x7. It has its own integrity as a painting, and the same would go for like even the little 3x3. In fact, the 3x3s, the one I just shared with you in the previous video, I painted that larger, so I'm actually kind of even going backwards. I mean, could you call it a study if I've painted the scene as a 12x12, whatever. I'm defying convention, so, but having fun. Ooh, that looks like a screw up. That looks like a screw up right there. Let me see. Nah, we're okay. We're okay. There was a sudden change. It was probably either I had to stop the camera because someone came into my studio, or to go to the restroom or something or whatever. But no, we are not missing anything. And gosh, I hate that when for some reason I'm not recording and I think I'm recording, which is every time I paint, because that's just the way I roll. But yeah, what can you do? Anyway, getting back into the texture thing here. So this is a scene that I painted this motif quite a few times in the past. I've done a moonscape. I think I shared that on the channel. And then I'd done the moonscape has no river. The river is just something I kind of came up with, concocted, and I think actually the river really helps the scene, even though it's like a river on a hillside or so. Maybe that make it the stream, I don't know, but I think the river helps it. Anyway, I painted it as a more straightforward landscape in green tones, and here I did my golden thing. It's not so much the red gold though, it's more of a yellow gold, and it's interesting because I have done this scene so many times. It's really the kind of scene I like a lot, and I think one of the reasons is that the composition is reminiscent of a Francis Murphy, and my original reference photo I took real early one morning, about I'd say a year ago, 2 years ago, and it just really caught my eye. They have some areas here where you have trees with rocks around them and things, and it's just a great look, and the scene has held that fascination for me because like I said, it sort of reminds me of a Francis Murphy, and I don't know, it's a good workable composition. So this is, I painted the basic composition quite a few times, and this is just one I grabbed real quick. Actually, the story is that I was playing around with one of my my art programs and playing around with doing color shifts, and I had just grabbed some reference that I painted in the past, and I had thrown it in my folder, my working folder for images, and it was sitting there for quite a while, but I kind of knew I'd do something with it, and when this sort of textured thing popped into my head that would be kind of interesting to do, I thought, well, I'll just do this. And that's part of my process as an artist. I like to be intuitive. I like to have plans, but I also like to I do listen to my intuition, and if I get a feel, like an interior feel or a prod to do something, I will follow that in a lot of cases. So anyway, actually I painted this very same scene yet again very recently as a 3.5 by 5, and that actually is golden in tone, but not so uniformly gold, I will say. And I'm sure I will share that out. I have actually, September been a very busy month for me, but for just tons of little paintings, tons of redos, and now I guess we're into October, so I'll just start rolling things into another folder. But it's been a good month, and September, I've noticed as I look back through the years I've been in my current studio that you go through different phases throughout the year. So I have had a few periods where it seems like I can't get a good painting done at all, and it's not for lack of trying. I'm always trying. I'm always working very hard, but I don't know, some sort of cycle is going on. But I have to say, typically September's always been a good time for me, and maybe even a time of regeneration and revisiting of old motifs, and just something I like to do all the time, to be honest. The other thing I spent a lot of time doing this last month was, especially for the last portion of the month, was going through this, these box of collected of 5x7s that I'm bumping up, and I'm definitely going to share some of those with you, just to give you some insight to how maybe you can go over some of your own old paintings if you are a painter, you know, and keep what's good and really polish them up and make them pop. And I've had so much success there, though, that I have a box right next to me right now that of things I was planning on throwing up on Etsy, and I may actually grab even more of those that aren't absolutely extraordinary and throw them in my pile of redos, because I've had so much success in really improving some things that they were good paintings to start with. I mean, if they were really bad, I'd just get rid of them. A lot of times I don't really bother painting over the top of 5x7s, but I have gone through periods before where I do some improvement of 5x7s laying around, but I have quite a few here, and as I've stated in the past, I'm going to use the online marketing world as a playground for selling my small work, and pretty much leave the larger things to the galleries, and they don't seem to have much interest in the smaller paintings anyway. So I figure, I absolutely love small paintings, and that's not true actually. Some galleries do like my small things, and several of them do sell the 5x7s, but I seem to get lots of requests for large things, and that's good too. I like doing the larger paintings too. Anyway, let's see. So one of the great things about painting in the texture that I absolutely love, getting back into that, is especially say you have a kind of a dark texture, like I have this burnt umber ground, and then I'm going over and basically drawing with black, so I get some areas that are black, I can just drag the brush over the top, and I'm getting all sorts of areas of interest, without actually having to sit there and delineate any detail, and that to me is awesome. And I've been doing a lot of these textured paintings. All of the small ones I've done have been very textured, and I have some like 6x8s that I'll be sharing with you that look very different for me. In fact, in some cases, people are walking in, they say it reminds them of Van Gogh or Monet. So I feel like I'm still cleaving to the tonalism, but maybe not. It's getting looks like almost like a palette knife type look, but painting with a knife has never been my cup of tea. I have seen some people do brilliant paintings with knives. For me, knives are used to scrape and scratch and pick and clean up and texture the boards and things like that, but never been very happy painting with them. But I am pretty happy with some of the looks I've got recently, painting on heavily textured boards, and that's with a brush, so that's looking good. What else we got? We're getting pretty close to the end. Like I said, I already just did a video, so you have to forgive me if I'm running out of stuff to babble about here. But I did want to, I don't know, I felt like it was kind of short shrift, just throwing a little 3x3 at you. And those 3x3s, I'm going to sell them cheap. That's the whole idea, is to have it's part of my experimental mode, experimental marketing mode. Not to mention, it's just fun to do little tiny paintings and deal with the constraints and limitations that are inherent in dealing with that. So we'll see. But probably those little 3x3s, I'm going to go for around $80, so that's pretty cheap, and be a nice thing to have on your desk, I think. That's my idea, having a desk or on the bureau or someplace where you can regard it as a little object, a nice little original thing you can have in your life. But we'll see how people react. Anyway, we're getting very close to the end. Thanks for joining me today. If you liked this video, would you please subscribe? I would so much appreciate that, and I so much appreciate those of you that have subscribed, and I'm trying to remember to thank you for that. I've been maybe negligent about that in the past, but also I have a website, and you can go check it out. It is landscapepainter.co.nz. I'm going to try and get some new paintings up there. But you can follow the blogs are there. It's a great way to get to the blog, and it's a great way to learn about me and my work. I'll be back next week, and meanwhile, would you please do me the favor of taking good care of yourself and staying out of trouble?